Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome in to another episode of the Buddhist Biohacker. We are creating conscious content for 1111D, and we are back after a week-long event last week with our awakening. So thank you to everybody who joined us last week. I'm Lisa Gunshore, your host, as always, on this wild ride we call the human experience. And I am so excited and honored and grateful and happy to have with us Andrew Bartzis. Welcome in, Andrew.
Thank you so much, everybody in the Buddhist Biohacker community. I look forward to having an enlightening moment where we can shine some light on this awakening days.
Oh my God, I'm so happy that you said yes and came on here. It makes me so happy. And everybody who's joining in on the live, you absolutely can share your comments and questions, as always, in your chat boxes on whatever format you're on, whether you're on Twitter or Periscope or here on YouTube. So just write it in there. And enough of all that. So Andrew, I'm excited to have you here. We've had a wild, awesome year here on Buddhist Biohacker. You're like our final amazing guest. You get to be the final guest of the year, basically, for us. And I couldn't ask for somebody better. So I'm just honored for sure. So
well, thank you so much. I get to round out an incredible year with a giant popping of the balloon or the shedding of the air where nothing happened at the end of the election. And everybody's like, where's the fireworks? I will be the fireworks for today's show.
Yes, I love it. Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. So I know who you are, and I'm sure a lot of people watching do, but we also have a ton of new people in our community that joined us, especially after our awakening event last week. So I do want you to just share, like, what the heck is a galactic historian? Who are you? Where'd you come from?
So, long story short, in 2012, October 31st, 2012, which was Halloween night, I was given, well, months before that, I was given the kick in the pants by my guides that I had to go public with a skill I had been doing since I was 9 years old. When I was 9 years old, I had gone to a baseball game with my dad and my brother, and at the baseball game, it comes to the end of the game, we're bottom of the ninth inning, the tied score. Our team hits a home run, they win. Everyone cheers. At that point in my life changed. Everybody who was in the stadium, I knew who they were, what they were, 10,000 generations of the past, 10,000 generations of the future. This included everyone that was watching on TV, everyone was listening on radio, and everyone was watching the game as a future viewer who wasn't there live. That's ultimately what the Galactic historian is, somebody who's interconnected to past generations and future generations, who acts as a medium and a translator for the Akashic Records. That's where I got my master exposure to it, and where I began to learn and understand that the Akashic Records is far more than what Lightworker Society defines it as. It is a living, breathing algorithm and manifestation of all life form that exists within the ocean of awareness, that is the universal perspective, and then the sea of consciousness, which is the galactic perspective. And then we are here, the living algorithms on planetary surfaces who are living in a 100% free will environment. And the free will environment has a master blueprint in it. And that's where we get to access the blueprint as fetus in the womb journey. It is where we plan all of the potentialities of who we can be when we're in that fetus, who my third grade teacher is, who your first lover is going to be, who your first breakup's going to be, you know, the person that's going to hit you in a car and get you in a car accident. Everything has spiritual contracts behind it. Even free will in the moment has spiritual contracts behind it. The fetus in the womb is trying to plan the best potential plan. And then when we are born, we go through the forgetting of what we planned. And then we begin to learn different affinities and aspects of ourselves as our mothers and fathers imprint upon us the 7 previous generations' physical experiences. Now, this blueprint has all of the great perfections in it and imperfections in it. As we begin to grow, the blueprint may call for steel, and all we have is wood. The blueprint may call for glue and screws, and all we have is twine. We are still building this self over and over and over again to try to reach those higher levels of perception. Spirituality is one of those ways we can access potentialities from all different realms and concepts. We are meant to be multidimensional, multifunctional living beings who are a part of this duality and a singularity at the same time. What I've learned from the Akashic Records and from my daily practice, which has become a multi-year, decade practice, is how to live multidimensionally and how to enter the sea of consciousness and see the Akashic Record as a 1 million letter alphabet and translate it here, or enter the universal consciousness and see it as a 1 trillion letter alphabet and try to translate it here. Time is irrelevant, though we always ask for times and dates. Roman numeral time is something that was instilled into us about 480 years ago. It's a social agreement we all are stuck to. So when we look at the Akashic Records, we see eras of light where souls are advancing or not advancing. And an era of light can be anywhere between a few hundred years or a few million years. It's all about the immigration of life to a specific area and how that life grows.
Oh my God, I could talk to you for a million years. Already I have 100 questions. Andrew, what did you do as a kid? Like, what did you do with that once you knew that information? Like, I grew up, I'm a multi-generational psychic medium, and man, people's energy as a kid, and I didn't even know how to process that. So how did you even know what to do with that information?
I learned to live 2 lives. The life where I could access that information, have it fully a part of me, and a life where I tried to be as normal as possible.
Yep.
Okay. I had jobs. Yep. I grew up with parents, Greek parents, who I started work in their restaurants when I was 6 years old, had my first cup of coffee when I was 6 years old. Okay. So I worked, but I was also exposed to large volumes of people. My parents had a restaurant in downtown Cleveland, Ohio in the 1970s and 80s, which was a very unique time. They could have 6,000 people go through the restaurant from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. And me constantly seeing every single one, visiting every single, understanding and processing who, what, when, where, why. And then in the fact that Cleveland, Ohio, when the Erie Canal was still done, Cleveland was considered the New York City of the world. So it had its own esoteric value to it, the way the city was constructed. I kind of say it was like my early training ground of learning multidimensional vision and sight. As I got older, it was learning to separate what I wanted to instantly gratify myself with a skill, because I learned over and over again, the more I asked for instant gratification or do instant the more it bit me in the ass. And it was a choice, and I sometimes I would delude myself into going down these sets of choices, and then a big hunk just got taken out of me, and then I'd have to earn that energy back until I finally stayed into what I call a sacred neutral state, where information didn't have attachments to me. And it's how I learned to flow with the information without being in a trance, without going into a channeling situation. It's always me, will always be me. And then learning how to have multiple guides and guardians in counsel with me, having full conversations with them out loud and in my internal dialogue.
That's amazing. One of the things that you talk about on your show that I love is you talk about how important it is to refine first of all, to have a spiritual practice, but also to refine it. And one of the things that you talk about is, really, if you can focus and put your mind to it, anyone can access this information truly. And I believe that too. I don't believe I'm super special because I see or feel things. I think it's really just, we all have muscles. We're not all triathletes. So what does your what is your refinement? What does your practice look like? What would you tell everybody who's listening here that's the most important things for them to do right now?
So first thing first, anyone can do what I can do and better. What made me here was commitment and courage and dedication, none of which are mystical. If you can find commitment, courage, and dedication, you can train yourself into the highest levels of spirituality, starting with effort. Enthusiastic effort versus effort. I found enthusiastic effort early on, wanting to learn and pride myself through enthusiastic effort. It's that enthusiastic effort with commitment, courage, and discipline that allowed me each and every year to create an ongoing spiritual practice that was a daily practice that allowed hindsight and foresight in, That became a weekly practice where I learned how hindsight with my journals and my memories was vital at learning who I was. And then my monthly practice was what's coming for me in the past, what's coming for me the next month. If I continue this spiritual strategy of a daily practice that became monthly, that became yearly, that became a decade. And in between those practices, I would have regular rituals and ceremonies that identified who I was, my whole story. And the biggest teachings of the ancient religion is know thyself. That's very important. In my journey to know thyself, I had to live two lives. One that was the common Andrew that everyone understood, and then the spiritual Andrew had all of these perceptions, thoughts, and concepts. I learned how to turn off my energies, how to not be overwhelmed by psychic vampires, how to not do battle with things. Because there are some things that as soon as you give them 1 micrometer of battle, you've already lost to them. That's their goal, is to give them just the tiniest bit of space, and then they've won. As I began to learn through hindsight and foresight, which became mystical experiences for me because I knew myself, I knew my patterns, I was able to strategize into a next set of practices where today, to do what I do at this level, it's about 20 hours of ritual and ceremony per month. That's not that much. And then there's my daily practice. That's 6 days a week, roughly 80, 90 minutes a day. Okay, but that's my refined practice. In the years past, sometimes it was 3 hours a day, 2 hours a day, a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I like to give this scale out there for people who are trying to figure out what's the right amount of practice. Practice equals effort versus enthusiasm. If you want a C+ effort, you can do 15 minutes a day. If you want B+ effort, you can do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And if you want an A+ effort, you can do 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week. But that effort still needs a smile. And those things that you're doing can't be a chore. And you cannot be mono-practicing, meaning I meditate. Big deal. If you mono-practice, that's all you're doing, you're really not doing anything that's spiritual. And a lot of people going, but, tough luck. Learn a dozen. Learn 5 dozen. You're not meant to be a mono practitioner. And most people don't actually meditate right. Guided meditation should never be called meditation. Meditation is achieving silence. In silence, we learn to control the inner dialogue that's constantly in our alpha and gamma waves, trying to overwhelm our thought structures, where our willpower is to achieve silence. In the silence, we stop the external and internal inputs and have control over ourselves to enter the deeper states of contemplation after the silence.
When you go into that silence, Andrew, like for me, I feel like I dive into this ocean, this vast void, and suddenly it's like you just merge into that space. Is that what you feel too? Like, what do you experience when you're meditating and going into that space?
So for me, it's turning off all of the senses, including imagination. So it's me closing my eyes. No matter what sounds in the room, it doesn't trigger me. No matter what little visions my closed eyes are trying to create colors or patterns, it does not occupy my attention. My heartbeat doesn't become irrelevant. It just becomes part of the journey where it doesn't occupy my attention. And then there's this journey of my chakras slightly compressing and then opening, compress, open, until that just becomes a backward part where the breath and the rhythm of life becomes even less, until I hear like something that's known as the dual heartbeat or the heartbeat of Earth Mother. It's the original thing we heard as a fetus in the womb. And a lot of Native American and indigenous cultures, the heartbeat of Earth Mother is the twin heartbeat, the mother's heartbeat and the child's heartbeat while you're in the womb. And that's that last stage before I realize I'm fully in the silence, all of that's integrated to me and not occupying my central processing unit, experiencing as input. And then in that silence, the goal is to remain there 7 to 12 minutes. Most people can't do more than 2.5 minutes once they get there. It's too much. Okay, I'm up to about 25 to 29 minutes before there's any kind of major interruption, unless I go to a flotation tank, and then I can go whole 2-3 hours, depending on how many hours I'm in the flotation tank. But when something pops in, it can be an inspiration, and you don't have to act on it. The point of meditation is to silence everything and to build up those muscles to control silence. But then there are powerful images that come in right at the edge of my awareness that I let in, that become an experience in that meditation. That meditation ends, I come out of the silent awareness, and I dive into that next subject. That old meditation has ended, and something new of my practice has begun, a journey format. Usually it's something that's an inner dialogue or an outer dialogue, beings commuting from other places and spaces, because they've recognized that I've entered that silent state, controlled the reality, and they know that I don't have inner impulses that could suddenly overwhelm them when they're in connection with me.
Mm-hmm. What does the Akashic Records, like, what does that look like when you access it?
It's
like,
it's knowingness. It doesn't have a vision.
Yeah. Okay.
In the past, there were libraries, this and that, and I even knew that back then that those were just visual crutches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's always been a knowingness.
Yeah, I've noticed for myself, similar to what you're saying, it was always this, like, I don't know, it was not a normal library. It was like a filing cabinet that was like never ending that I could pull things out of. But I've noticed lately it's just sort of turned into this, like, these light packages or something that have opened up. So I was just curious what you were seeing, and why do you think things change for us with that, Andrew? Like, why do all these, for example, I've worked with this collective of beings, and they're sort of like not that anymore recently. They're like, it's more just a much more expansive energies. Like, is that all just our spiritual evolution? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I just want to ask and see what you have to say about it.
You're going through your own evolution, and whatever collectives you met at the beginning of your evolution, they're going to evolve too. Like when I first started, there were a group of beings from the inner earth that were not there to interfere with me. They very much wanted to have a hands off. Whatever's going to happen to this thing, because they didn't understand what I was either at that point. We're just going to kind of like leave it over there and not really protect it from anything, but not really push things towards it either. And as I began to evolve with my ability and awareness, they realized what I was called a standing wave in time. I simultaneously existed on thousands of timelines with the same capacity to be aware. And to them, that was very scary. And then they evolved because they never thought something like this could happen. I was a living, breathing manifestation of a paradox to those beings' perception. But they gathered other beings who had other paradoxical experiences, which then began to try to create first contact with the 10, 12, and 13-year-old me, who was quite cranky and didn't want to talk to them. Okay? You know, as a 13, 14-year-old trying to talk to 2 million-year-old hollow earth beings who were trying to say, own your power. No, I don't want to. Okay? But then as I got older and I experienced Native American Sweat Lodge and understood the power of prayer, I'm like, whoa, wow, I didn't really mean to talk to you guys that way. Even then they evolved and evolved beyond that and evolved beyond that. And to the point where there's tens of thousands of different collectives that are always trying to communicate. But we already have that as a natural experience. I just had to go through my personal mental, spiritual awareness evolution to understand, as a multidimensional being, we don't have to have a single conversation. We could have infinite amounts of conversations going on in infinite spaces. And we have to learn how to become non-competitional with those experiences, meaning I could have this experience and that experience and that experience simultaneously, and this mind is not competing for awareness to any of them. They're all in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, in a greater agreement that is just the betterment for the wholeness of the souls that are a part of the journey.
Oh my God, that's not easy.
But once I learned equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, it simplified everything. I realized that those other conversational topics, I didn't need to know every little tiny piece of what was going on. Okay? I learned there was a precognitive and postcognitive workforce there for me, trying to help this Andrew stitch together linearity, even though I wasn't supposed to be a linear being.
Yeah.
And as I accepted non-hierarchical order, meaning I'm the apex of my own self and everyone else is the apex of their own self, and we're an equal co-creation and we're not competing against each other, we're all on the same team. And if we're all on the same team, the same agendas and goals, just through different perspectives and lenses.
That's amazing. Andrew, what is going on in this crazy world we live in right now? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of all this ascension talk. We were talking about it last week. I'm just sort of tired of it. And you know, what is your opinion as you deep dive into your own knowing? What are we doing here? Like, what is going on with all this wild stuff happening? That's a big question, but
long story short, what we are experiencing right now is we live in an energy farm. Have you heard of this terminology before?
yes.
Now, this farm goes back 19 million years ago when the Anunnaki and thousands of other species came here and realized that there was programmable DNA technology on the surface and that they were somebody else's farm that they hijacked. Well, since then, they have been harvesting life force from us to power machines. And then human beings have also been harvested because they have unique psychic capacities to power machines in other places and spaces. We are their commodity, period. The hollow earth runs the farm. The astral world determines who comes in and out of the farm. There are 3 timelines on this world: astral, surface, and subsurface. The surface timeline uses Roman numeral time. That Roman numeral time is where time travel wars are focused on. And why are there time travel wars focused there? Because there are people who don't want to live on the farm anymore, or others who want to hijack the farm, going back thousands and millions of years and going forwards million years on this timeline, and alternate timelines in which species from around the galaxy and the universe are competing for this planet. This planet is on the edge of a part of the galaxy, which has a portal next to it, which connects you to another galaxy that has just been created about 6 billion years ago. Okay, this brand new galaxy is where new souls are trying to transit and get to it. Earth is this stopping hub for souls. And you have a farm that has been farming for millions of years, and all this influx of life, and the hollow earth controllers going, we've got a boom of energy to be resolved. But at the same time, the surface beings are going, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. And the journey to the Great Awakening, or the Great Dreamtime Awakening, is beginning to happen now. And what we're seeing is a breakdown of time itself. How many people would agree 2020 went by really fast?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 2021 is going to go by even faster. And faster and faster and faster. And it's not just because we're getting older. Time is compressing itself. Now, during the compression of time, there are certain spiritual contracts that our global narrative that we have with our global narrative that have to be resolved. The global narrative says NASA defines what life is, government defines quality of life, money determines where you are in life, so on and so forth. All of those apparatus and infrastructure that the global narrative uses to enforce a belief system on us has to begin to go through rejection and breakdown. Now, over the many millions of years, there have been other awakenings here, but just before the awakening happens, they blow up the world, hit it with an asteroid, put a virus on it, and they kill the whole farm. They reseed it. This time, they are making so much energy, they do not want to kill the farm. They want it to just be in perpetuity of milking the cows that are there. And this last election represents milking the cows until there's nothing left, and the nipples are red, and cow nipples are so red you can't do nothing to them anymore.
Yeah.
And then they're going to stop harvesting. And this is where I make this joke. We've just finished season 2. There's an election. We don't know who wins, but they did it so bad. They fired all the writers. and now they're skipping season 3 and starting season 4. Okay?
That's so perfect. Oh my God.
They've done this to us before. The global narrative has screwed it up so bad before. They've done this, and if you look back in history, you can see the obvious moments like 9/11, the $2 trillion missing, so on and so forth.
Yep.
They just they're switching seasons and actors on us right now, and they're trying to get us to believe in it because everything's about a belief engine. And as people begin to realize this is an individual awakening, never was meant to be a collective awakening. It's one of the biggest falsehoods that's perpetrated by the light worker community in unknowingness that it's a collective awakening. No. It's an individual awakening where we can see we've been fractalized and fractionized away from the wholeness, that our individual connection with Source will determine how we awaken to Source and the Source connection and all the things that are beyond the global narrative that are waiting there for us to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Here, Andrew. Individuals.
Yes.
This is about us individually awakening.
That's right.
God, I heard you say that months ago, and I was like, who is this guy? Yes.
That individual awakening is so vital for people to go through. Mm-hmm. And right now, there's a lot of people stamping their foot. I want a collective awakening. Keep trying. Keep trying. That's your free will. It didn't work the last 4 times.
So when everybody hears this, because I know all of you guys are listening to this and your mind's like expanding in whatever way it is, depending on where you're at in your own journey. But what's your advice? What do people do? You know, I mean, I think all of us who are trying to lead and support and help people through this, there's all sorts of different opinions, but what do you think people do?
During the awakening?
Yeah.
It comes down to self-healing, self-nurturing, self-discovery, learning self-love, forgiveness, mastering the daily practice, enthusiastic effort, understanding commitment and courage are not mystical, and then what I call schedule magic. I have a show in which people call in and talk to me, and I do sessions and readings on the show all the time, and the common theme is they don't have time. Well, if you learn how to schedule time, you actually have time so that you can use commitment, courage, and discipline to make time. And you can carve out as many hours as you need to. It doesn't matter if you've got 4 kids, 2 kids, or no kids. Okay? I've had a show where a mother of 4 has figured out how to carve 6 hours a week aside for herself and has mystical, powerful, magical things happen to her all the time. But the next person that calls in has no kids, is 61, hasn't been in a relationship in 25 years, and can't carve out a single minute for themselves. Okay? There's giant, inaccuracies in people's own belief about themselves. So it all comes down to your personal involvement into yourself.
Yep, totally.
Okay? And hermesy has become as worse than the coronavirus. Okay? The hermit virus is so rampant right now. And what's bad about that is they lose their social skills. They lose their intimate social skills, their friends' social skills. And all they can do is repeat conspiracy, repeat light worker bullshit, and don't know how to hold a conversation with someone.
Yep.
And guess what? On a world of hermits, no one wins the awakening. I have every other Friday I do a comedy show with a stand-up comic named Monty Dean from Australia, and we have decided to make the AA version of hermits. Okay? Because it has become so rampant and bad now.
Yeah.
People just pull away from society. Well, guess what? After there's the individual awakening, what are you going to do with the rest of the people around you? Okay?
Oh man, yeah, it's so true. I love you guys. You guys crack me up. I watch you from time to time. I keep thinking I wish I was funnier because I think I could make up some pretty good jokes also, but
you should just come on to one of our Friday shows. We'll throw you in the deep end. You'll be fine.
Oh my God, I would love it. I would love it because you guys are awesome. And it's true, like you have to laugh about things, don't you? I mean, it's pretty funny. Like sometimes I watch the news or I look at, which I don't really do, but that much, but it's just comical. It's like, what? how can you not laugh at some of the things that people are saying and doing, that they're taking themselves very seriously, but it's
Unfortunately, so many people have a serious stick so far out their rectum that it comes out their mouth. And I start my comedy show. This is take the sticks out of your butt. Okay. If you have a delicate sensibility, this is not the show for you.
Yep.
Okay. But my other two shows are very serious, but at the same time, I like to laugh. And laughter is one of the most potent healing energies out there. It can break stagnant and dominant energies instantly with a belly laugh. Okay? So having a comedy show, I still talk about all the other stuff I talk about, but I put a comical tense to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, we live in a world where, like, there's so many I was laughing with my husband the other day. I'm like, there's people in the earth, there's beings all around. I see dead people, that's part of my life. So there's dead people in my kitchen. I'm like, we live in the wildest time that ever existed. How can you not laugh about it?
Exactly. How can you not laugh about it? Exactly. But unfortunately, the hermits have created this, I'm an intellectual with my 19 PhDs in YouTube. Okay, Karen. Okay, Boomer Karen. Unfortunately, a lot of the community are run by Karen boomers who have got a Facebook page that's regurgitating garbage everywhere. Yes, we've just went through 3 Karen purges. Okay. I'm not saying which communities were targeted, because you all know the Karens that ruined the whole industry. Yep. Because they felt that they should be able to post and tag everyone, whoever they want.
Yep.
Okay. I had to kick off many Karens off my Facebook page. Why? Because they demanded I follow their point of view. No, I'm not going to follow your point of view, Karen.
Yep. I deleted my Facebook, Andrew. It's gone.
I do it for business. I do it for business. And if I spend more than 2 hours a week cumulative on it, it's a lot for me.
Yeah, I bet. Don't you feel like the energy is just, oh my God, if I open my Twitter, I just don't even know how.
Twitter's worse than Facebook.
Oh, it's so bad.
Twitter's way worse.
I'm on there just to stream this show. I just want to stream this show, but my God, there's a lot of stuff on there, a lot of crap.
A lot of ghosts.
Yes. So I want to ask you, I was dying to ask you this, because I've been channeling since I love this little story that my mom told me, that when I was like 4 years old, they heard a noise in my room at like middle of the night. And I was sitting up in my bed talking in a man's voice in a different language. And I've always been a channel. And my question for you is, what do you see that being about in general? Like, for people, like, do you feel like you're channeling those beings? Do you feel like it's just a connection? Like, what do you feel about all the channeling stuff?
First thing first, I don't channel.
Okay.
I'm always me. Channeling has its own light worker word salad reference.
Yes.
So a chef salad that has ham and turkey on it, a vegan doesn't want to have that salad. It's not a salad to them. Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And it can be perceived every different way, or it can be just salad, but that ranch dressing you isn't organic. Okay? I don't channel. I perceive and receive information. Okay. Now, there are other people who enter a state, leave their body, and something else takes over. That does not follow what I believe the sovereign reality of an individual. Okay. It can be their sovereign choice to have that as an experience, and I can't judge it. And then there are others who put a toe in the water here, a toe in the water there, and a toe in the water there, and they say they're channeling. Mm-hmm. And then there are those that have practiced experience, who know yoga, martial arts, energy work, and are able to enter a state and connect to a being and act as a medium or a translator. Mm-hmm. Okay, they may be just in your auric field, but they're not inside your body. Right. Taking over, harming and nourishing, whatever it is. And then there are beings of light who send light to you, and you send light back to them, and you're co-creating an experience. True channeling, if we take all the salad and the dressings out, they're beings of light communicating at a flicker rate.
Okay.
Okay. And what does that flicker rate mean? One's in one frequency of time in density and dimension, and one is in the other. And the colors and the shapes and the things that are in the flicker rate represent the intense conversation that one side will have to translate if others are listening to.
Okay.
So the entangled observer is very important. If a channeling is being listened to or not by other living beings beyond the physicality of the one person. Now, there are a lot of times in conversations, there's billions of beings that are listening to what I'm talking about. But that's actually natural for human. I'm not the only one that it's like that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've had plenty of conversations in your old experiences where you've had billions of your brethren and offspring from the past and the future going, oh, what's she going to do next? Okay.
Yeah.
So what is channeling? An experience of sovereignty. Unfortunately, many, many people don't understand the fundamentals of how to make it work right, and it backfires on them. If you have no daily practice, or your daily practice is your only daily practice is meditation, don't jump into channeling. If you think it's cool because you see this person and this person and this person do it, you don't really know what their real lives are like. You don't. You only see the production that's up in front.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a natural affinity to it, you have a community that can work with you, a person that can ground you and make sure you're not getting taken over, all the better. Okay. And then there's the person that can realize I can be me and I can communicate to spirits all the time without restriction and be in my body and be sovereign. That's the ultimate goal to get to.
Yep. Okay. I like that. I want to ask you about timelines too while we're talking about this, because that's something that the language I want to use is different. I don't really want to use timelines anymore. I think that's not, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. But you were talking about time compressing, and we have the linear time construct that was created, right? And then we have like the interdimensional experience. I've had a lot of colleagues and clients saying that they're experiencing where they're someplace and they lose all track of time, or they feel like they're in a completely different life almost. And I'm just wondering is that part of the time compression? Like, what do you see is happening with the timelines right now? Because everything's converging.
So there are people, I know you may not like the word timeline, but that's all we have for right now in describing it. There are a lot of people that there is a technological component to our global narrative. If you reach a certain frequency, like whack-a-mole, they put you on another timeline. Yes, they know you will get back to that normal timeline, but as soon as they whack you, you're 7 degrees off center. You're 7 timelines away from the original timeline. And what they do is chart you to see what skills your soul is using to get you back on your natural timeline. And some people become aware, hey, something's not right. This just doesn't feel right. Something's wrong. Then they go to sleep, and then they make the dream journey back to their original timeline.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it is the dreaming body that is really the master controller of the time travel capacities that we have.
Okay. Interesting.
And then there are people that end up on an alternate timeline and go, this is completely different. Like, an actor died in one timeline and is alive in another timeline. And we see these types of experiences all the time. Or different presidents.
Yeah.
Okay. Bush only was elected in one. There's a lot of people that experienced Bush W only getting elected into one election, not two.
Mm-hmm.
And Obama taking over in 2004 and not 2008. And then Trump in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very different forms of time experience, if you imagine that.
Yeah. We have a question from the audience. It said, how can they take you off your journey if you're not creating that from within?
How can they take you off your journey? Easy. Technology. Unless you are Dalai Lama linked to your meditation daily practice with a full balance of your spiritual stuff, they can whack you off this timeline instantly. They do it to me. They do it to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Focus a directed energy beam on 79 square miles, poof, they're gone. You can't stay. I know a lot of people are going, but. Listen, we live in a hologram, and when they use technology on us, they can put us to a different part of the hologram, no problem. But it screws up their prediction models on you. But it also allows them to refine their prediction models on you. And I want to say this. So many people are like, I'm a targeted individual. No, you're not. Most aren't. 99% of people who say, I'm targeted, you're not. You're targeted by yourself. For whatever reason, your ancestral lineage, so on and so forth, you're not targeted by the system. You're targeted by yourself. And those people that are truly targeted by the system, they're not paranoid about you at all. Once they've targeted you, you've already lost until you can reclaim your power back in such a way that you might actually be able to do something that isn't just a ripple in a giant ocean. You're a tiny little pebble in a giant ocean. Okay, you need a really big rock to affect the ocean, right? And if you're hurling rocks into the ocean, you're just as bad as they are. Okay? You haven't learned the lesson of subtleness, self-healing, self-nurturing, self-mastery, that you can evolve beyond the gritty masters of the now who are demanding you obey to their will. You can evolve beyond them.
What do you think's going to happen next, Andrew? Do we know?
4 more years of nothing happening. But in that 4 more years of nothing happen, a lot of people will be able to catch up onto the awakening journey. And those that are already on the awakening journey, guess what? You got 4 more years of deeply going into your next form and practice. Okay? It's not over. The fat lady ain't even singing yet. She ain't even on stage yet when it comes to the awakening. If you're waiting for the arrests, not going to happen. If you're waiting for the solar flash on December 21st, 2020, it's not going to happen. If you're waiting for the global reset, you're waiting for the waiting, none of that's going to happen. Empower yourself, let it go. Disentangle from the system is the greatest thing you can do for your awakening journey. And yes, you still got to learn to live within it. There's always going to be people that will support the system, the white picket fencers who believe in the politics and them. The awakening is separating from politics. The awakening is separating from the global narrative. The awakening is going, hey, there's a spiritual world that isn't defined by money.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. I want to jump up and down right now when you say those things.
Embrace that spiritual world as you are detoxifying from the global narrative.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. It's so like this. We just have to come out of the story, Andrew.
Exactly. Letting go of the story is so important, but so many people are like, I want to know the end.
Yes.
Okay. Guess what? It doesn't end. It's an energy harvesting system where they want to harvest energy from ever. That's why they're skipping season 3 and going right to season 4.
That's amazing. I'm going to use that from now on. I love that analogy.
Mm-hmm. So we're basically, I make this statement. You know, they're skipping season 3, going to season 4, and right now, during the time where we don't know who's what, they're giving us a recap on what season 3 was. A 1-minute recap.
That's good. Okay. Oh my God, that's so good.
And they're setting up for bait and switch, master marketing bait and switch techniques on us.
Oh man, yeah, that's good. Now I have to ask you, tomorrow's my birthday, and I warned you in advance before we went live, but I am just dying to know what you see for like in my energy or whatever you, I don't even know what I'm asking because I don't know that I have a question as much as I'm just curious.
Okay, just give me a second to tune in here. So you've said you've done mediumship, et cetera, et cetera. When did that start for you and how did that start?
Since I was born. I mean, it's pretty much been me my whole life.
Okay, do you have an entourage that you work with?
I do. They're changing every day, but I have them.
Can you draw?
Yeah, I can. I wouldn't say I'm an artist, but I have been drawing. Yes.
All right. So on your journey, it will be important for you to begin to draw some of your entourage.
Okay.
Some of them have sigils on them,
Okay.
and a sigil is an object, as a thing of power. There are some
What are my?
There are some sigils that are changing in the person that's a part of your entourage. And what it is this the sigil itself is changing its time frequency, meaning the entourage itself is elevating itself as you're elevating itself. And it's important for you to take time away from the technology and go to deep into non-technological space and understand the veil of reality, the veil that's around us is going to thin around you. And some of them will begin to make physical appearances in front of you, actually touchy-feely appearance instead of
Okay.
in the mind in appearance. And those are the ones that are ready to make physical manifestations with you are going to be very potent teachers into your next level.
Okay.
Now, you also have off-worlders that are trying to work with you too. There are times where off-world beings die here and they get trapped into our astral matrix, and they need to be brought back to their original celestial source. You will be asked to help do that over the next couple months and a couple years.
Andrew, that just I just had an experience with this 2 weeks ago. That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're going to ask you to do it more often because they need a bigger group of surface humans that can cross people back to the original celestial source.
Okay.
Hold on, let me just filter out some information here. So I'm trying to make sure some stuff is not appropriate for air.
Good, you can tell me after.
Yeah, relationship stuff. Okay. There's a part of you that has been avoiding wealth.
Yeah. I wish I could crush that part of me.
You're going to have to make a deeper connection to how wealth is paying you back versus earning money in this negative system that we have. There's some internal ideological system that's creating this friction, allowing wealth to flow through you. There should be a lot more wealth flowing through you.
Okay.
Because you have these wealth windows that are showing up now, and don't ignore them.
Okay.
They're gifts from the spirit world.
Okay.
Prepare for some real weird dreams too. December 7th to December 14th is a window of unique dreams for you.
Okay.
That's it for now. The rest I'll tell you off here.
I like it. Thank you. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
And yeah, my dreams they're wild anyway, so I can't wait for that. That's going to be interesting. Thank you. That's so good.
Yeah.
I will have to talk off air, but
I'll tell you that 7 days is your dream vacation. Ha ha. Ha ha.
From which dream, Andrew?
All of them.
I don't know about you. What's your dream state like? I'm conscious, there's no rest. It's like I'm conscious all night. And then I'm conscious all day. Like there's always lucid. So what's yours like?
I love sleep. I'm a master sleeper. I'm a grandmaster sleeper. There are times it's very similar to what you've described, and other times I got the double middle fingers up to the dreaming world going, let me sleep. I don't want to be aware all the time. Let me have my human sleep experience. And then there are other times, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm still awake from the night before because I've got stuff going on, stuff to resolve, beings communicating to me, or me just in an insomniac mode because I overworked myself spiritually during the day and I'm kicking myself in the ass. You know what? I should have done that extra session. I should have done that extra work. Brain's working in overdrive, and now I just have to let it finish its journey out. So I love sleeping.
I need to practice my double middle finger. I like that because it's just on and on and on and endless. And I would say like 90% of the time I do love it. I can't complain that much. I love journeying and traveling and all the things, but there's about 10% of the time where it's like, dude, like I don't really feel like this right now. Like I just don't, so I'm gonna have to practice shutting it off.
I've been doing this for so long. It used to be whenever I'd have my morning bathroom, they'd come in full force, wanting to talk to me. I'm like, come on, man, I'm taking a dump. Let me be. But you're high frequency. You just woke up. Leave me be. We've got to have some boundaries, guys.
That's how I am with people who passed away. Like sometimes they'll be like, sometimes they do look a little creepy. Like sometimes they're not, and they'll be creepy and standing and they'll like scare me. And I'll be like, can you just not today? Like, can you just give me a minute to be in my own house without having some shadowy figure walk around or something weird going on?
Yeah. Or there's a ship hovering outside the bathroom door. Knock, 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 knock. Come on. Like I said, you got to wait. Why are you knocking on the door when you're tapping the door at the front of your ship? They have these little micro ships. Their ships can be as big or as small as they want.
Yes.
Okay? Or I come out and I'm ignoring them and they're like, hello. Schedule a time with my PA. That's what I tell them. Here's my spiritual PA. Schedule a time. What? You're telling us no time means to schedule time with you? Yes.
That's awesome. I feel like, don't you feel like, I'm sure it's the frequency, but it's like, I feel like sometimes there's like a beacon of light. Like there's some kind of beacon out of my house and it's like, they all know to show up here. And it's like, come on.
That's why I made a spiritual PA.
I didn't do that. Did you just create one? What did
it was just after it was 2012 or mid 2013, the levels of communications to me got so overwhelming. I literally one day I had a physical PA at that time. I need a spiritual PA. And I'm like, I'm a creator of my own reality. I'm making a spiritual PA. Put all the effort, all the meditation, all the writing, all the rules, policies, procedures, prayer behind it, and I created a spiritual PA.
Oh, I am so doing that. That is genius, Andrew.
Yeah, with an office and a phone number and everything. Spiritual email. Exactly.
You know what? I have this little record keeper guy, and he's like this really tall, thin blue alien dude. I just love him, and he's my little record keeper. He helps me with my contracts, and he's popping in my head. I'm gonna do this. I'm like so inspired by you right now. That's like a genius idea.
Yeah, and then I hired a spiritual law firm to take care of all the spiritual contracts that are being thrown at me all the time. And this law firm has thousands of spiritual lawyers there that love to reverse contracts the lawyer way. Yeah. So whatever's trying to chuck negative contracts at me, the lawyers look at it and send it back to them all screwed up.
That is awesome. Oh man, I'm into that. I just had one little guy. I think I need to expand my horizons here.
Yeah, even your PA will need a PA after a while.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, I just love you. I hope you come back next year because I just really
I'd love to. I'd definitely love to. And you should come on to any of my Friday comedy shows.
Oh, I would love it. I think that'd be fun. You guys crack me up. My husband and I just love you guys. And I want to give you a few minutes here at the end, just some space to just let people know how they can find you. All of Andrew's information, of course, is in the show notes too, but just, how folks can connect with you. Andrew's got a great, your emails are great. All your revocations, everything you send out. I just love them. Yeah, if you want to share with everyone.
So you can go to my website, andrewbartzis.com. That's last name BARTZIS.com. And there you'll see my webpage that's got all the information about me. If you click on the Insights tab, you'll see all the free contract revocations that are out there. There are 8 of them that are up there. And then when you sign up for the email list, you'll get a whole bunch more, about 60 pages of free spiritual information, actual implementation, practice, etc. And then every right now until the end of the year, every Tuesday from 12 to 2, I have a radio show with Martina Grubmuller where we dive deep into spiritual and esoteric concepts. Then on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, I have a call-in show where people are asking me for doing readings, questions, whatever. It's an open call-in show. And then every other Friday, I do a comedy show with Monty Dean, also 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, which is today. We have a comedy show. So anybody that wants to come in and just let down and have a laugh and just we take the piss out of everything that we can. Today, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the other places. And I invite you to come and like and subscribe to any of my channels and have a blast, everyone.
Yeah, you're awesome, Andrew. And we're definitely doing this again. And I would love to come visit you guys because you guys are just awesome. And thank you to everybody who's watching. And this wraps up Buddhist Biohacker. We're going to do a little prediction show, I think, with our medium group at the end of December. But this is it. So you guys, Andrew, we did like 200 episodes this year in 1 year. It was pretty wild, but it was fun.
Wow.
I know. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break and some downtime. But thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you so much, Andrew. You're just awesome.
You're welcome. It's an honor.
Yeah. You can hang out with me. I'm curious about my stuff.
Sure.
I'm going to hang up on everybody out here. So bye, you guys. Have an amazing Friday. Have a great Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrate that. And we'll see you guys in 2021.
Look for a turducken.
Bye, everybody.